And now in this video, this guy is explaining the necklaces that are mentioned in the Quran and in the connection with the Hajj and the sacrifices. And we will now actually see how ignorance is a very big problem, when people speak about the religion and when they speak about those books, whether it's the Quran or the Torah or, New Testament. The problem is even bigger when people don't, acknowledge the previous books. When, for example, they read the Quran, and because of their beliefs that everything other is corrupted, but their book is only perfect and with no mistakes, they don't acknowledge the information that is, that they can find in the Torah or New Testament, even though if the Quran is speaking about those stuff that were mentioned in the Quran, because they don't know about this information, they invent and speculate, forming an interpretation according to their own desires. That is very far from what the Quran actually refers to and speaks about. But let us now hear what he is speaking in this video.
The last point I want to bring up is this idea of garlands. Okay, you know what a garland is. It's something that you decorate, whether it's a tree or whether it's a person. Sometimes it's animals or cattle. Let's look at these verses. O you who have believed, do not violate the rights of Allah or the sacred month or the sacrificial animals, and garlanding them or those coming to the sacred house. Again, Masjid al-Haram. It's also mentioned in this verse, Allah has made the Kaaba, the sacred house, standing for the people, and the sacred months, and the sacrificial animals, and the garlands by which they are identified. If you can show me where this happens in Mecca today, I'd be very curious to see that. But this word, you can just find this word. This is basically something that goes around the neck, a necklace, a pendant, a choker. Okay? Qala'id. Qala'id. We have the same idea here. Qala'ida. One necklace. Qala'id. More than one necklace. Okay? Qala'id relates to twisting, winding around some, muqallid. Okay, to put something on oneself, and a necklace. So clearly we don't see this today at all.
And he is right that clearly we don't see this today in Mecca or anywhere else, but it was actually the tradition that Jews had before the Quran. Let me see some historical facts that he is skipping. We will first check the information about the word that is Hajj and that is related to a Jewish word Hag, and after this we will check the information about the secret months in relation with Hag, with sacrificial animals and the necklaces. And we read, the Hebrew word for a Jewish festival or holiday, which historically refers to the 3 pilgrimage festivals. In ancient times, it was a religious commandment for Jewish people to make a pilgrimage to the temple in Jerusalem during those 3 specific holidays. The term Hag itself originates from a Hebrew root meaning to go around, referring to the ancient practice of circling the altar with sacrifices during those festivals, a concept also related to the Islamic Hajj. The 3 pilgrimage festivals are the Passover, the festival occurring in the spring, Shavuot, Feast of Weeks, celebrated 7 weeks after Passover, and Sukkot, occurring in the autumn. Sukkot is a harvest festival that also commemorates the 40 years the Israelites wandered in the desert, living in the temporary shelters, Sukkah, after leaving Egypt. This holiday is sometimes referred to simply as the Hajj, due to its great joy. So we saw that the Hajj is related to the Hag, to the Jewish Hag, and also we saw that the secret months that were there, mentioned, are also related to Hajj or Hag. Let us now read about those necklaces. The item will have been a functional identification marker, not a decorative necklace in the modern sense. The issue of marking and identifying sacrificial animal is discussed in the Talmud and related Jewish legal text, focusing on ensuring the correct animal was offered by the correct owner without invalidating the sacrifice. The primary ritual method of designating an animal for sacrifice was semikha, leaning one's hands heavily on the animal's head, which established the connection between the owner and the offering. The Talmud addresses particular scenarios such as when consecrated animals belonging to different owners were mixed up, indicating a need for some form of identification. Jewish sources touch upon a few methods and interpretations for practical identification. The most prominent marker mentioned in the Talmud and Mishnah is a crimson thread, a scarlet cord. This was used specifically during the Yom Kippur Day of Atonement service. A crimson thread was tied around the horns of the scapegoat, the goat sent to Azazel in the wilderness. A portion of the same thread was also tied to the entrance of the temple sanctuary. The purpose was to differentiate the specific unique offering from the other goats sacrificed that day, and it was associated with a miraculous sign where the thread was said to turn white as a symbol of the people's sins being forgiven. One interpretation found in commentaries and traditional stories suggests that a simple, non-blemishing identification tag might have been used in practice. Some of the sources suggest a small, simple copper of wooden identification tag inscribed with the family's names might have been hung around the animal's neck on the day of the offering, primarily for logistical purposes in the busy temple courtyard. So we actually saw the confirmation of that what we read in the Quran, that the Quran came to confirm the previous books, the previous regulation, the true in the previous books. So when people want to deny these facts and deny these previous books that Quran build upon, they are left with fabrication and speculation that doesn't help the truth at all.